Now let's take a look at Hino's 2010 EPA compliant emission system. Like most other manufacturers, Hino has chosen SCR, or Selective Catalytic Reduction, for their emission systems for 2010 EPA compliance. Other than international, pretty much all the manufacturers have decided to go with SCR because it's a proven technology and we know that it works. If you take a look at the system, back in 2007 emissions, one of the big things that the EPA wanted to do was get rid of particulate matter, or soot. Our new system not only reduces the amount of soot greatly, like our previous system, but it also targets NOx, or oxides of nitrogen, and tries to get rid of a variety of other pollutions as well. Now, what we'll do is we'll start off talking a little bit about what the system was prior, and then talk about some of the new components that they've added onto the system for the 2010 EPA emissions on our 2011 trucks. First of all, on our previous trucks, we had the DPR, or Diesel Particulate Reduction Filter. That filter collected the soot, or particulate matter, and occasionally it would do an automatic regeneration to burn off that soot. Previously, we adopted a type of post-injection for the fuel system, which would inject a little bit of fuel through the exhaust stream to help burn off that soot. Now, new for 2011 on our trucks, we have a new burner system. It actually burns off the soot via an igniter system. There's a small fuel filter at the back of the cab that needs to be changed every 2 years or 100,000 kilometers that's specifically for the burner system. But other than that, there's really no maintenance required other than an inspection at 320,000 kilometers to confirm proper DPR operation. Now, to the DPR, or Diesel Particulate Reduction Filter system, we've added some new componentry, and that's basically the SCR, or Selective Catalytic Reduction System, for the 2010 emissions. The SCR, the main goal is to eliminate oxides of nitrogen, and we do that by injecting a type of fluid called DEF, or diesel exhaust fluid. This small tank here is a 4.7 gallon tank, and that's where the DEF is housed. Now, after the exhaust emissions go through the DPR and the diesel oxidation catalyst, that's when the DEF, or diesel exhaust fluid, is injected midstream into the exhaust. What happens is the DEF fluid is 32.5% automotive grade urea mixed with water. That basically, when injected into the exhaust stream, is going to mix with the oxides of nitrogen and break down those harmful chemicals into non-harmful chemicals like nitrogen, water vapor, and a small amount of carbon dioxide. Now, the DEF is injected out of this tank into the exhaust stream, and basically it makes that chemical catalyst to break up those harmful chemicals, turn them into non-harmful chemicals, and typically there would be a small amount of ammonia gas that might be able to escape the system and get out through the exhaust, but what we've added is a secondary diesel oxidation catalyst for what they call NH3 slip, or ammonia gas slip, which takes those chemicals and again catalyzes them so that they don't come out the exhaust system. Now, very important when we're talking about the DEF, or diesel exhaust fluid, there is some maintenance required with this system. First of all, we have to make sure that the tank is full. Not only is there a gauge on the tank itself, but there's also another gauge on the new instrument panel. Both of those are going to give you an indication of where the DEF fluid is. And we have to make sure that that fluid is filled at all times, because when it starts to get low, we'll get a warning indicator on the dashboard. When the warning indicator comes on the dashboard, you need to fill your fluid. If you ignore that light, first of all, you'll get a light that comes on the dashboard, and you'll also get an audible warning that says low DEF fluid. At that point, you need to fill the fluid. If you don't and you continue to drive, every 10 minutes you'll get a warning telling you to fill your DEF fluid. If the DEF tank is less than 5% full, the truck will derate to 75% of the engine's maximum torque. If the driver continues to drive even beyond that 5% and the tank gets down to 2.5%, what will happen at that point is once the engine is shut off, the truck will derate to 5 miles per hour. So again, it's critical that we keep those tanks full. A full tank of DEF should last for about 5,000 to 7,000 kilometers, but usage will depend on what type of conditions the truck is operating under. So it's not as if we have to fill up the DEF tank with every diesel fuel fill up. A couple of things to point out about the DEF tank. First of all, it's a composite or plastic tank. That's important because although DEF fluid is not flammable, it can be slightly corrosive to components like aluminum over time, so we used a composite tank. This tank has been tested in cold weather testing down to about 30 degrees below zero, not only for impact resistance, but also for expansion. So if we do get into those areas where freezing is a concern, we don't have to worry about the tank rupturing due to expansion. There's also a couple of other things they've done for cold weather regions. If you look in the back of the tank, there's actually an engine coolant line that goes into the tank, around the bottom, and back out the other side. At temperatures below negative 11 degrees Celsius, DEF fluid would typically start to become slushy. The warm engine coolant will warm the DEF in the tank to ensure that the DEF will flow into the SCR system in cold weather conditions. In addition to that, below 0 degrees, the fluid can actually freeze. The EPA government standard is 70 minutes to make sure that the DEF system is operational, and in all of our testing we found about 26 minutes, even in those cold temperatures down to 30 below, our system is up and functioning. In terms of the quality of the fluid, if somebody accidentally pumps another type of fluid or puts water in the tank, there is a DEF quality monitor, and you will get a light on the instrument panel telling you that your DEF quality is poor. At that point, there's a small drain plug located underneath the tank here. You need to drain all the fluid out of the tank and fill it with fresh DEF fluid. So a lot of thought has gone into the SCR, or Selective Catalytic Reduction System, as well as the DEF fluid. It's been tested, and it's a great way of making sure that we've got the cleanest emissions out there in the industry. One of the first things you'll notice upon getting into the Hino trucks is the large stair-step entry and the wide door opening, making it real easy for passengers to get in and out of the trucks. They've also repositioned the grab handles a little bit for this year, and they're both located inside the cab as opposed to on the exterior to keep them free from rain and other things that could possibly cause people to slip getting in and out of the truck. When you get into the cab of the Hino trucks, one of the first things that you're going to notice, it's a very spacious cab. Lots of headroom, lots of stretch out room, and there's a standard 3-passenger seating arrangement. It's going to be optional in a lot of the competition out there. In terms of the features that you'll find inside the cab, you'll find that Hino has one of the most comprehensive arrays of overall standard equipment inside the cab of any of the manufacturers out there. Things like air conditioning. We have it standard across the board on every one of our trucks. If you look at some of the competition, you'll find that it is an option. In terms of our stereo systems, we have an AM/FM stereo CD with GPS and Bluetooth. In terms of the seats, we offer a standard air suspension seat on all of our medium-duty trucks. In terms of the dash layout, you'll find that everything is real easy to get to. It's ergonomically laid out. All the gauges are easily readable, and with the new driver information display, there's a plethora of information available at your fingertips. Some of the other key features to point out what are new for 2011 is we do have power mirrors, which are now integrated with the heated mirror option. The heated mirror switch is located below the climate control on the lower portion of the dashboard. As we talked about earlier, one of the things that they've integrated new for this year is up to 6 additional auxiliary switches, which makes it great for those particular utility and bodybuilding applications that are much more electronics intensive. A couple other things to point out. In terms of the cab, the visibility that we have in the Hino trucks is one of our greatest advantages out there. And if we look at our overall windshield and the visibility from the front of the truck, as well as our side windows, we have some of the best visibility out there. That, combined with our great maneuverability, makes these trucks some of the safest trucks out on the road. A couple other things to point out when you're in the cab: the tilt and telescopic steering wheel, standard across the board. And you'll definitely want to point out the new driver information display. It's an LCD readout, and there's quite a few new features that have been integrated into it. One of the things that you definitely want to point out is the DEF fluid meter on that readout, but there's also a variety of other gauges that you can access through the driver information display. In terms of some of the other creature comforts inside the truck, don't forget to mention the overhead storage bins, which have latches on them, the coat hook, which we added on a couple years ago, and things like the cup holders, which makes it a lot more convenient for people when they're driving around. Something that we added for 2011 when we changed the contour of the seat are the new articulating armrests. Make sure your customers know that in order to move the armrest down, you first have to move it up, and then you can adjust it in whatever location you'd like for maximum comfort. And last but not least, new for 2011, remote keyless entry from the factory on our Hino trucks. Just another easy to use feature that's great for our customers out there. And that's the 2011 Hino cab.